Here's one of the gallon jars in which I am culturing blackworms. I use pieces of brown paper from packing material or brown paper bags, anything without toner on it. I used to give them a little fish food, but I found that although this does make them reproduce quickly, they produce so much sludge that it's really not worth it. Since I have 15 jars going, well, more like 14 jars, I get plenty of blackworms, and I mainly just feed them as treats to my 2 Betta splendens. Occasionally give them to guppies and Colombian tetra. But it's pretty easy as long as you don't feed them anything but brown paper. It keeps them going, and I generally do a water change often enough to keep most of the algae off the glass. Here's another one of the jars. The remnants of a Marimo moss ball are in here. Fortunately, that fell apart in my 75 gallons, so I just put the rest of it in here. This jar has quite a few blackworms and a few Daphnia. I have Daphnia going in most of the jars. This jar has more Daphnia. Not as many worms. In this jar I put the Java moss and the one snail I found in the tank has reproduced, and now there are plenty of snails. But I give them some sinking pellets periodically to keep them going. Try to keep them all in one jar. This jar has a few more Daphnia. Don't see a whole lot of worms in there. This jar has some brown paper that still has not sank. Probably a few worms in there. When I do water changes for the worms, I put these screens in here, and there's inevitably some leftover brown paper, detritus substrate in here, and occasionally a few Daphnia wind up in here. But I keep an air stone on it, and well, get a few blackworms and Daphnia out of it. In this 5 gallon, I put the sponges from hang on the back filters. There may be a few blackworms in this, but I keep an air stone on it. The main reason I keep this is so that the beneficial bacteria will survive in the sponges and be ready for use if I will need to change one out or start a new filter. What I like to do here is take the blackworm cultures and strain them through a mesh. And try not to lose many blackworms down the sink. Set that aside. And rinse the detritus off the substrate. Now the blackworms are going to sink, so I can just pour the excess water off. That way I can catch them. And I'm going to use this aquarium water that's been sitting out back in these apple juice jugs. And that's going to provide some sustenance for the Daphnia in the water. Now I'll spend some time using a turkey baster to blow through the substrate and catch some blackworms to feed to my fish. Okay, Betta, it's your favorite. Nice blackworms. Oh, he's eating those up real good. I don't want to lose too many of them in the substrate. I have had them survive in aquaria. And actually, as they stick their tails up into the water column to respirate, Betta might catch them at a later time. It looks like he got a really good feeding of them that time. Probably won't feed him again today. But he really enjoys them. I don't feed him these very often. Maybe once or twice a week, since they are high in fat.